Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Welcome back to the latest installment of Beyond the Edmonton Oilers here on Dolynny TV. You know what? There's a lot to talk about across the NHL, and it continues week to week. Last week, obviously, taking the weekend off to not cover, but go up and check out the UFC Fight Night Edmonton. That was a great time. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time since then, I guess, you wouldn't really have gotten the full update, but hey, we'll maybe talk about that a little later on. That said, the Winnipeg Jets continue to dominate the NHL. Ovechkin is on pace and to exceed the Wayne Gretzky record this year, and it just appears that there's a couple other teams doing some really good things as well. So we'll talk about that much and more here in today's edition. If you are new to the channel, friends, of course, this bi-weekly segment I've been doing here on the channel this year, just to kind of introduce a little bit more hockey content to Dolynny TV this year. For those that have been here a long time, you know there used to be a lot more hockey content on Dolynny TV outside the Oilers, but we've gone one way this past 5 years, so definitely thank you if you've hit that subscribe button in the time that ad was up. Now, what do we know for the NHL this week? We know that the Winnipeg Jets set the all-time record for wins to start a season. 14 out of the first 15 is indeed an NHL record in history etched for the Winnipeg Jets here in 24-25. And if I know anything about the last time I talked about the Winnipeg Jets, which just so happened to be the last edition of this segment, is there is a lot of interest now in Winnipeg because of the start, right? I think everybody knew that Winnipeg was going to be a good team this year. I think they've been a good team for a long while now, probably since about, when was that? Back in that 58-56 game season when they swept the Oilers in the first round of the playoffs. Yeah, they've been a good team since then pretty much, and they continue to prove it day in, day out here to begin this NHL campaign. And it's nice to see, from my perspective, right? I think, at least as an Oilers fan, is the Oilers are the most remote outpost in the NHL, if that makes sense, the most northern. But when you come to getting the general census around the NHL, the most outpost in Canada is Winnipeg. At least that's general stereotyping, if you would. And for Winnipeg to be buzzing the NHL about being the best team in the NHL right now, that's fantastic, right? The more that you can expose Canadian markets that maybe get a bad rap for hard winters or whatever the case might be, like Edmonton and Winnipeg. Like I'm saying, neither nor is better than each other. It's just depending on the general consensus around the friend group or around the NHL fans you're around. But you look at it, that's major marketing, right? If you've got something going so right in Winnipeg like you do, that's going to do a lot of good, not only for the Winnipeg Jets, the fans in the seats, and of course attendance. It's going to do a lot of good for just Canadian markets in general. And I don't know if you can figure anything out based on all the jerseys on the wall specifically here, but you can probably figure out why I'm so on about that. It is truly important as a country that has the lesser amount of NHL teams in it, that being Canada. We need that marketing, right? We desperately need that marketing. We need as many eyeballs as possible, especially across the United States. And when you have a team doing something like the Winnipeg Jets have done to start the year, that is going to grab lots of headlines. That's going to grab lots of attention. Maybe not dominate the news cycle somewhere like New York or somewhere in southern Florida, but it is going to start kind of putting those teams out there on the map a little bit more. And I mean, the Oilers tend to put themselves on the map for the wrong reasons, at least this time of year. So yeah, it's absolutely awesome to see. And you look at all the numbers, the goaltending looks fantastic, the offense is fantastic, the defense is fantastic. I think they're outscoring opponents 2-1 every game, it seems like, or at least that's the average. So for the Winnipeg Jets, a job well done to start the NHL season so far. And that's fantastic to see, like I'm saying, from a perspective here on Dolynny TV. Now, ultimately, as well, we talked in the intro about Alexander Ovechkin and his chase for Wayne Gretzky's record. Well, it's been a huge past 2 weeks for Ovechkin in that hunt. Obviously, doing a really good job scoring some multiple goal games here and getting kind of going for what has been a massive change compared to last season's start, I think that's what I'm looking at this through that lens of. Is for Alex Ovechkin, it was really a tough start to last year. If I don't remember, it took him a long while. And I think this year started a little slow as well. But now up to 10 goals on the season, right, in a few games, in 14 games, I think it is. That is going to really trend well the rest of the season. And I'll really have to say the only point I have to make here on Alex Ovechkin chasing Wayne Gretzky's record this year, scoring the 10 goals so far, is the fact that we can sit here and doubt the guy all we want, but what we've learned about Ovechkin over the course of his career, and it's true with most star players, is when they say enough's enough, I want this, they go out and get it. And, you know, it was true with Ovechkin in that Stanley Cup year. It's been true with Ovechkin getting to those 50 goal marks how many times over. But what's going to be true with Ovechkin this year is if he truly believes he wants it this year, it will be done no matter what. And that's going to be a really cool moment to see in the NHL. Something that I think a lot of folks, especially folks like me growing up, oh, that Gretzky record is untouchable, right? You'd have to score, what? Oh my goodness, that's like 50 goals a season for 18 years. That there's no way in the modern age when Pekka Rinne's got a 962 save percentage. I know that's an exaggeration, but you get what I mean. Is it just didn't seem like it was possible. The NHL has made some changes to allow for more goal scoring because that's why you want to watch the game. You don't want to watch for a 0-0, 1-0 shootout victory, but it's crazy to me that still this is something that legitimately we are going to see sooner, right? I think a lot of folks said it was going to take this year next. It will be done this year is almost my guarantee for you on that front. And when it comes down to the rest of the NHL here, friends, I just want to quickly note again that since the last update, the Nashville Predators have not changed anything about their situation. They're still struggling mightily in the bottom of the Central Division and the bottom of the Western Conference standings. Montreal, really another team that had lofty expectations this year of taking a step forward, really struggling, and I'll be interested to see kind of what happens there because, you know, that's a high pressure market. And for Montreal, maybe in a week's time, we're not talking necessarily about the Winnipeg Jets. We're talking about a major move in Montreal or something. And other than that, right, you got Chicago, you got San Jose, Anaheim at the bottom of the standings, and that's really the bottom end of it. I think too, another impressive side of the standings, if you've been following along this year, is the Minnesota Wild and what they've done. They've had a pretty positive year again to start now at 10-2-2. And it's awesome to see from Minnesota as well because they desperately need a year where they are a top tier team in the NHL. They've got the pieces in Faber, Kaprizov, all those guys, and obviously some goaltending that's going to be interesting to watch all year long. Cough, cough, Marc-Andre Fleury. So we're going to see where that goes. But friends, thanks for being aboard for another Beyond the Edmonton Oilers edition here on the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I am up on out of here.